Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing with the Superman display base diorama I've been working on. You may have seen part 1 where I created the base to be done like the Earth. This is inspired by my favourite Superman poster, which is the Superman Returns one where Brandon Routh's Superman is floating in space above the Earth looking down on everything. So that's what this is inspired by. Part 1 was about creating this base. Now I want to do a backdrop for this, which gives obviously the outer atmosphere up into the stratosphere. So I've got some foam board which I'm hoping will work as a suitable base. Initially I just need to work out sizing, and ironically enough I think part of this is a perfect size for what I need. So I believe this base here is literally the perfect size. So I'm going to bring this around. I'm going to get my ruler. Where's my ruler gone? I had a ruler. Where did I put it? Oh, please, this is my ruler. So I had a ruler. I cannot find it for the life of me at all. I don't know where it's gone. That is so annoying. Okay, so I've got this little distance marker which will work, I think, well enough. Literally just going to score down the side of it says. I don't believe this is going to work perfectly. Sort of do, and then across the base. Why does this keep bending? There we go. Like that needs straightening out. That's not the way it was supposed to. Okay, let's try that again. Sort of better. I can straighten it out a bit. There we go. There we go. That is sort of okay. For a second, let's work this out. So yeah, that is a perfect size. Originally I was going to try and bend this to fit around the curvature of the base, but I might just leave it like that, which then works out. I then need to decide how it's going to stand perfectly. Maybe they become two separate pieces. Okay, I'm going to go away and have a think and a play about how I want to connect the two bits to the base, and then I will be back. So I played with, oh, excuse me. I played with a few different ideas on how I was going to do the back for this. Initially I thought maybe I would just have a stand, you know, it's like a photo frame or something, and I contemplated that for a while, but I didn't like that idea so much. And then I had the thought of creating a base for the base and then gluing that to the back so that we have a standee, which I think is going to be the best option. Yes, I think that is going to be the best option. So, question is, let's just mark that there. Just so I know where I'm going to cut. I'm going to come across from the bottom here. That's a definite. So for anyone curious about these foam boards, they're about £4 from Hobbycraft, and I think they even do, well, I think they're like £4.50 and they do like 3 for £12 or something. So they are relatively cheap to pick up, and you obviously get a big space with them, so it's one of the reasons why I like using these, because they are inexpensive and work well. That, and then we will bring that down there. Don't know why this keeps spearing off to the side there, which is annoying as Hades. There we go. That's sort of a nice enough base. That's really. There goes Superman. Not straight at all. Not straight at all. Let's try. Let's try that again. Hopefully that's a little better. The only thing to be careful of is if you haven't got a cutting board or something underneath, is make sure you don't carve the surface you are using beneath. It's why I always lift off the mat. There we go. That's not too bad. Right. So that is going to be our excess board. That can go away. I'll put that back in the garage later. Excess mess. There we go. That's better. Right. Okay. So that is going to be our base, and what will happen is I'll hot glue the two together in a bit. But what I want is this to work in conjunction with it. So question is, am I going to trim the insides down? Take that in maybe. I think that's a possibility. I think what I'm going to do is essentially trim part of this away so it forms into the circular bit, and it's either the back that is sticking out, so Superman's going to, so it's going to go about there. And then I think get a pen for this. Do a rough. Best option is to slide this underneath, I think. Yes, there we go. There we go. Now I can get a better idea on where this is going. That's it. So what I'm going to do is have a line there and there. So where the line is will be the back of the base, and then the base will be trimmed to fit around the globe. We'll go like that. There we go. And then that's exactly where it's going to go. And with that in mind, this will then trigger. So what will happen is I'm going to leave this piece here, and that will be used to stick that onto the back and give some support, but I'm going to trim away the outer edges here so that it merges in with the globe or the stand base, and that Rex is away. Let's get rid of him for a minute. So I wonder if it's try this with a pair of scissors, I think. This isn't working quite as well as I had hoped. It's fine. Just needs to be tidied up. Tis all. Tis all. There we go. So you can see what I'll do it after this is I will get some sandpaper, and I will just sand down the edges to give this a cleaner cut. Get rid of these excess bits. There we go. That's not too bad. It needs some cleaning up, but what will happen is the base then will stick on like that. Yes, it will stick on like that quite nicely. I will touch it up with some paint as well. So there, there, there we go. So that's just so I know where things are going. The edge is here, will need to be painted green, and that will, where's that other line? There. And then up around here needs to be painted green, and then all this bit is blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up the edges, paint the sides to match the globe. I'm going to leave this part of the base clean and unpainted for the moment. Eventually it'll be painted in the same colours as I do the back drop. But there we have that. So I'm going to go get this cleaned up off camera and get the initial coats of paint done on this, and then I will be back. Okay, so I've painted the edges so that when this is glued on top, everything kind of just continues to align colour wise. Now I need to paint the backdrop, and what I want to do for this is to have it transition from the sort of Earth's outer atmosphere to sort of the darkness of space itself. So I intend to use a series of different blue colours and literally just merge them all together into one. I am going to start with light blue, moving into cerulean, ultramarine, Parisian, before into the black itself. So I think the best way to do this is to literally have a large coat of this, like so. I want some more than that. There we go. So we start with a nice light outer blue. What did I say? Cerulean. 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 There. 18 is the ultramarine. Which then goes up here. 19 is the Parisian. 1, 2, 3. And then finally the black. Which apparently I'm nearly out of, that's worrying. Fine, I've got other black paints I can use, but I prefer not to if I can. So literally all I'm going to do is start by blending this in like so. Use the darker blue. into that. Not too much paint. I used too much paint. I used more paint than I thought I was going to need. Oh well, that's fine. Just clean that off. Take a scoop of that. Just put that in there. Oops. Move that out of the way so I don't keep catching that. Get rid of some more of this excess paint. And use this black. This is spreading thicker than I actually thought it was going to. I didn't think it was going to spread this thick to begin with, which is why I used so much paint. Jeez, I used a lot more paint than I thought. Oh well. Make sure the black's nice and thick. Red paint there. And just move this in. Down over the bottom. Oh. There it is. Hopefully just moving up and either blending those colours in so we get faded texture throughout. Again, swipe that. Damn it. Shoot. Put some black paint where I don't want it. There we go. There's a good girl. Fine. There we go. That's it. There we go. Like that. I think that should hopefully turn out okay once it's all dried. It's going to take a while to dry though. What I am going to do is pull this off a bit, spread that down the line like so. Try not to get this on the mat. There we go. There we go. Oh fuck. Flicking everywhere, it's now way too much paint. I've messed this up. That's fine, I can correct things. It's fine, it's perfectly fine. There we go. Be a little darker than I originally intended, but it should be okay. I'm just going to fade in the paint over here, just so I've got some colours, some textures here. Let's do some of that. Just blend it all in. There we go. There we go. there, clean up those. And there we have it. So I'm just going to leave literally all of this now to dry. Hopefully, touch wood, this will work the way I want it to. Once everything's dry in the next day or so, we'll come back and we'll take another look. Okay, so everything is now dried. As you can see, this hasn't turned out too badly. I'm happy enough with it. I don't know how I could have done it better, but yeah, it's worked well enough for what I want. So the next step is I'm going to glue all of this together. Just waiting for this hot gun to warm up, and then we will be able to glue everything together. So the idea is this will glue onto the back, and then Superman will glue on top. And if this all works as I hope it will, we will then have a Superman looking over us display piece. So the gun is now warmed up. Let's just make sure that's a little bit warmer. Not too bad. I'm going to take Superman off for this, just to be safe. This will stand over that. The rest there. This will come in the back, and that will be that. Depending how it sticks, I may end up doing a back support on this as well, but we'll see how everything comes together first, I think. Hopefully this is now warm enough. Yes, that's plenty warm. So all I need to do is just put a fine amount of glue along the back. And open the stand again. Bring out our back piece and line this up and press it all together, and just hold this in place while the glue sets. Hoping this really works. I really do hope this works. There we go. No, hasn't quite worked yet. There we go, that's not too bad. That's stuck on nicely. And now to bring this back in and glue this to our base. So bring in the hot glue, and I will glue. I really need a longer cable. Hopefully I have enough glue to finish this off. I've got more glue sticks, I just don't want to have to go and hook one out, but I am going to have to. That's fine. That's fine. I've got it here. Right, that in the back. There we go. That's better. And then line this up with everything, and there we have that's not too bad. That is not too bad. That has come away a bit. That definitely needs some more glue in place. Just stick and hold that into position. Wait for that to dry, and then hopefully this will work just as I want it to. There we go. Let's stick that in place. That's a little, that's still coming away a little. That's fine. Just hold it in place for another minute. No, I don't think that looks too bad. For a quick project, I don't think this has come out too badly at all. There we go, that's better. That's better. Okay. That's better. And then if we bring in our Superman. Depending how you want it. It's the one thing, nice thing about this Superman with the cloth cape, you can kind of have imposed as you want. So if I really wanted, I could have the cape up and over, hiding the top, which actually doesn't look too bad. There we have, and there it is, our finished product. I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. It doesn't look too badly on camera. If I bring that in so you can't see the rest. You can sort of see that it looks pretty good in my personal opinion, if I do say so myself. Happy with how that has turned out. This was a fun little project, and I think it makes a nice display base overall. Yeah, everything has turned out nice and solid without any real issues. It was cheap, and yeah, I mean, one of the big boards, which I've still got half of, was $4.50. I think the foam ball I used was about £5. You can pick up a whole dozen of these for a few quid. So overall, you could probably do this for about a tenner. And that makes a nice cheap display base, which is what I wanted. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, stay safe. Thank you. Goodbye.